got onto the Midway. I was looking for the pirate ship when I saw this small, old like tenant market. It was blue and it had white lights hanging all around it.
Welcome to Old Men Yell at Cloud. I am Christopher Brown, and I am joined by Patrick Barry.
Hi.
And Jim Schultz.
Hey!
Tonight we're doing a bit of a first for this show.
Can I do mine again?
Okay.
Hey! That's better.
Tonight we're going to be doing a bit of a first for the show, and we're going to have not one but two guests. We're going to be discussing Slint's Spiderland, and I figured it'd be cool to have the person who introduced it to me, Rick Surette, as a guest. So, Rick, how goes it?
Hi.
Hey.
And in addition, I thought we could get a little meta and have the person who introduced it to Rick. So, in addition to that, we have my co-host on the Nickelbackin podcast, who's coming live from halfway down the eastern seaboard, Mr. Abram Taber. Abe, how's it going?
Hey.
Pretty good. Hey, good.
Yeah,
good to be here.
we've been talking a lot this week, Abe. Anything new happened since Monday?
Anything new happened since my? Did I tell you that I became the building rep for my school?
You did.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's kind of like a shop steward. So I'm the union contact in my building.
You have a union rep in your building?
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
Chris is making this
Yeah.
thing right now that's like, don't get him fucking started.
I've already heard the story. That's
are
why.
Abe and I the only union members in this podcast?
I think so.
I used to be in the union when I worked at the old grocery store.
Oh yeah.
I think the dumpster was closed off at that Shaw's, though, Abe. I'm sorry.
Actually, I think I was technically union for the one day I worked at Shaw's in Saugus.
Oh, they didn't let me join the union when I was in the dairy department at Shaw's.
Then I wasn't in a union either, because whatever your experience was, I'm sure it was
Yeah,
the
I
same
think
as
it
mine.
depended on the
Did you
department.
see that? What year were you working at Shaw's?
It was 2001.
2001?
Yeah,
I was there in
Lifehouse's Hanging by a Moment was a big song at the time.
See, I was there in 2002 when their
Shit, I
their
remember
next
that song.
single was really big. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head.
Neither can they.
Neither can they. But
Hanging by
had
a millisecond.
They had an excellent orientation video, actually, that they sampled Timbuk 3's The Future's So Bright, I Gotta Wear Shades, but they were doing it, like, unironically.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I love
Isn't
it.
that nice? Like you have this golden opportunity in front of you working at the Shaw's supermarket, of course.
Sure, yeah, nothing but a bright future ahead of you there.
Right.
What I really love unironic videos like that, like if you're in health class and they're like, all right, so here's why we use condoms, set to the tune of the topical track. Can't
too
touch
sexy.
this. Yeah, exactly. And it's always like completely unironic, just like a couple of years after the fact. Like those Wendy's training videos. Like the chili can be served with cheese.
That is true.
I do not know these videos.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to search them out.
Rick, have you heard these before? The chili can be served with cheese?
No.
They're training videos from like probably like, if I had to guess, I would say like 96, 97.
So they're beautiful then.
Oh, yeah. And they're done to like a New Jack Swing beat, which, as we all know, everyone was listening to in 96, 97. Like, we hadn't moved on
yeah.
as a culture at that
I
point.
was.
Yeah. But yeah, chili can be served
Funny
with
you
cheese.
should say
Just check that
96,
on YouTube.
97 because that's when I listened to Spiderland for the first time.
Hey,
Oh, wow. That is
so
OG.
that actually,
Wow.
that's
what it
perfect
was,
because
96.
that's
Yeah.
perfect because this leads me to my first question: who introduced the album to Abe?
Oh,
Oh,
good
Patient
question.
Zero.
I know. He found it in the dumpster.
So actually, that's a very
Alright.
good question because, Abe, you introduced it to Rick, who introduced it to me, and then I introduced it to Patrick. So who introduced it to you?
I just bought it on a whim at Newberry Comics.
Best blind buy ever.
That's a pretty good blind buy.
Yeah, way
Yeah.
better blind buy than Aerosmith's greatest hits.
Yeah, I mean, well, it was on Touch and Go Records, which I'd already bought a lot of stuff from, and I knew
okay.
I'd like. But I knew nothing about this band. The album title sounded cool. The name, I was like, "What the hell's this word, Slint?" It sounds kind of angular.
So you
Like,
had
maybe
no
it's angular.
knowledge of this record, not even like you had never even like read about it or anything.
Nope, had no clue.
Wow.
And just bought it, and like, yeah, I have a lot of feelings about my first listen. It was, and then an immediate second listen.
Yeah, I mean that's a great story.
Yeah, that's an amazing first buy. Like,
Yeah.
just like blind buy.
I'm trying to think of if I've ever just kind of bought a record based on the way it looked.
Really? Have you not done that?
No, I should
my
try.
God.
You know what though? Like I used to go through my dad's record collection, and that's how I discovered Anima by Tool because I was going through it and it had
From
the,
your dad, which is nuts.
yeah, it's fucking insane. But
Yeah,
like,
that's cool.
The cover was had the holographic
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
going on. I was like, oh, I'm listening.
See,
to
I
this.
was in that sweet spot of like just starting to get into music around like 96, which was also around the same time we like got internet at our house. So I was
Yeah.
I was like a sad boy, just like sitting at home, like looking up like
Porn.
really. Yeah, but also like really sad boys like looking up
Oh,
like
let's see. I could play.
looking at like these like really sad old guys other like websites about music.
So Abe was also like a super record nerd
Yeah.
in '90s. Like we were 16 then, and Abe would waste his entire paycheck on records,
Wow.
Yeah.
and I would waste
And
my
I would
entire
special-
paycheck on like bad broken guitars, and then we would listen to records and play bad broken guitars together.
There was a system, you see.
Yeah, I used to special order stuff from Newberry Comics, but this was there all the time. And the name was boldly on the CD, you know, like it's got the circle sticker that's also on the vinyl, I think. And so it's like this really interesting picture. It's like, what is this? Wow. Just like
Who are
the
these?
black
Who
lines
are these
and the
Forrest
black and
Felt
white.
young men in a quarry?
Who are
Yeah.
these lads?
Yeah, exactly.
So that was another. That's them. I'm assuming
That is them. Yeah.
in the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cracking open a cold one with the boys.
So before we go into like anecdote story, because Jim has a story about Orlando that I'm pretty interested in hearing. Let's just do a quick little background. So Spiderland, it's Slint's second and final full-length album. It was released in '91 when the bulk of the band was barely, if at all, legally able to drink. Primarily written as an instrumental album by guitarist Brian McMahon and drummer Britt Walford, while their bandmates, guitarist David Pajo and bassist Todd Brashear, had left there for their first semesters at college. It's a pretty dark and dynamic album. Pretty big contrast. Like when we were listening earlier, Rick was saying it makes their first album, Tweez, almost sound like a pile of trash. It's just it's such a different album. Tweez is something that very much sounds like a bunch of teenagers making it, for better or worse.
And Steve Albini was.
And Steve Albini engineered it, but it didn't sound Steve
Sonically,
Albini.
it sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
it's not his best production.
It doesn't sound
Well,
very...
it's interesting in because in the Wikipedia, it's sorry not to jump in here because
go for
but
it.
you know that's what I do.
You are a dick.
One of the guys left because he was pissed off about the Steve Albini production.
Yeah, their former bass player
Yeah,
who went
Ethan
on to found
Buckler,
yeah, who founded King Kong afterwards. So yeah, it's a pretty big contrast. Spiderland, it's a lot darker than the former album. It has vocals, which is quite a bit different because the first album just sort of had some impromptu, off the cuff, just spoken things that weren't necessarily written. Whereas this has more of like stories of like carnivals and vampires and social alienation, that
People
sort of thing.
taking a piss, or trying to.
Yeah.
Oh, and just some social alienation thrown in there for good measure. Yeah.
Well, along with vampires.
yeah.
What were you saying about piss?
There's like I don't know if you could consider it a lyric. He's just kind of
Yeah,
spoken
yeah,
on
in Donna Man.
Donna Man.
Yeah,
Donna
he's-
Man, there's a line
He's like
about
he
it.
tried to take a piss and he couldn't.
It's about
and
Tom
then a
Hanks,
plane
right?
flew by. No, Tom Hanks could piss.
Tom Hanks pisses a lot.
Yeah,
we know
He
this.
does. We've discussed this at length before.
There are so many movies where he pees, but we're not here to talk about that. So there's all sorts of odd time signatures. Primarily recorded by Brian Paulson across 4 days worth of studio time. The sessions were fraught with the stress and anxiety that the song suggests. Shortly after the completion of the sessions, Brian McMahon checked himself into a psychiatric hospital and soon thereafter quit the band. After recording 2 albums and playing only about 30 shows, Slint seemingly broke up before they began. So, yeah. And Patrick, what are you looking at? You guys were both just looking in the corner like there's like this
So
Lovecraftian
he's-
monster
he's-
crawling.
I'm trying to keep my face
It's a
away from the
spider.
mic so I'm not like. Tell me more about.
I thought he was
Slint.
getting anxiety because there's some products over there that he's familiar with.
Oh yeah, there are.
I was actually
I'm not
checking
gonna
my
mention the
phone
business
because I know
because-
it's probably going to go off and vibrate this thing.
Oh,
and
that's fine.
sound
Don't
weird,
worry about
but
that. We've had weirder shit on podcasts before.
Like
Yeah,
ghosts.
that's-
So
yeah.
Slint and in particular Spiderland were championed by indie rock cranky next door neighbor Steve Albini, who we were just talking about, who declared that the album earned, and I quote, 10 fucking stars. And he, to his credit, he accurately predicted that the album would become influential years down the road. So they posthumously released a self-titled AP in 1994. The various band members played in projects such as The Breeders, The Four Carnation, and everyone's favorite Zwan in the interim. But they eventually reunited several times for tours and festivals beginning in 2005. And yeah, that's where we land with this. Anyone have anything to add before we start getting into the program?
Yeah, why is everybody always up on Steve Albini's shit? Is he really that like fucking influential?
Have you ever really listened to it?
He records
Listen to his
drums
stuff?
very, very well.
I guess. I mean, he did In Utero, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did Razor Blade Suitcase. He did Rid of Me by PJ Harvey. He did that Plant and Page album.
Yeah.
He did
I
Surfer
always
Rosa.
forget that he did that. Surfer Rosa by the Pixies. Yeah.
He did
He's
a lot
like-
of like
he's-
great epic
And
like
he did
He's like
Godspeed
an-
You Black Emperor, Nina Nastasia. Like
Yeah.
he's done a
McCluskey Do
ton of
Dallas.
whacked out stuff.
Well, he's like technically an acoustician.
Yeah.
Is that what you would call that? Like,
I mean, yeah, he refuses
a-
to be called a producer, but
right? But he like
Yeah,
he
he
has
goes
like
for
a pretty
engineered
good
vibe.
handle
I don't
on
know.
acoustics and shit.
No,
and-
I don't have a problem with his recordings. I mean, I think they're fine. It just seems like he's a dick.
Well, that too.
he almost certainly is. You can,
but
you can
but
assess
you are
that.
too,
Yeah,
and I am too.
But he's also a really nice guy. Like he and his wife answer Santa letters in Chicago.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
They realized there was a huge number of unanswered Santa letters.
insane.
And so they answer them every year.
All right.
They've done
I
it
heard
for a long-
like he answers fan letters a lot too.
Steve Albini, I'm sorry if I offended you.
Also, check out his cooking blog.
I will check out your
Oh
cooking
yeah,
blog.
His
he's got a
cooking-
great
his-
malasadas recipe.
Yeah, his cooking blog is just a delight. It's called, I think, Mario Batali Voice, .blogspot.com, something like that. But
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's just like whatever he makes for his wife after the studio session's over. Like, that's how he decompresses, is he goes and
He
makes
goes and
dinner.
cooks dinner
with,
for his wife?
Yeah, with whatever's in the fridge. He'll just be like, all right, these are the ingredients. Here's what we're doing. And then he writes a blog post about it. And it's
All right.
it's just
I
always
got-
very hysterical.
I got horseradish, I got olives, and I got some Welch's fruit snacks,
And he'll make something that always looks good from it.
I always
He's
said
also
that. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say he's the reason aluminum guitars are so popular right now because he
The
was
what?
the one aluminum guitars.
Oh
are?
yeah.
Yeah, step right up to that mic. Don't be afraid.
Is that better?
Aluminum
Wear a hip
guitars.
slung guitar.
they're popular.
Super popular. Have you ever looked at the prices of the aluminum guitars?
No.
They're like extremely expensive.
So what is it? Just it's an aluminum body.
Aluminum neck.
Aluminum
So he
neck.
plays like original Travis Beans, and he's got like not an endorsement, but like he's the one who kind of pushes the electrical guitar company guitars. Like,
Okay, I'm gonna have to check this out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're great.
'Cause
Yeah.
I'm wholly unfamiliar.
Shellac is
Yeah, a lot of people use electrical guitar company aluminum guitars now.
Shellac
Anybody
is
who's
such a
cool.
fucking abrasive
I wanna be
sounding
cool.
band live. His band Shellac, they are just so fucking abrasive sounding live. It's pretty wonderful.
It's great.
And they have elements of slint in them, you know?
For sure.
Yeah, I mean Albini has been a big fan of them for 30 years now, so stands to reason.
Yeah, I think it was in Forced Exposure where it was like that 10 fucking stars thing. He was like, I would record this band for free.
which he did do for the single.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So why don't we get down to the nitty gritty before we get too far off track off
right.
the bat? So let's start with favorite song. So we'll go round robin. Abe, I'll tip to you when it's going to be your turn since you're not here for visual cues. But Patrick, why don't we start with you?
All right. My favorite song is "Good Morning, Captain."
Remnants of the ship can be seen in the distance. Blood stain the ice along the shore.
Yeah, I've always, this was the song that kind of like stuck out the most to me for whatever reason, and I know like there's a story behind the album that like the name Spiderland came from one of the band members' little brothers named it. He said that like it sounded like a bunch of fucking spiders or something.
Said it sounded spidery.
It sounded very spidery. Well, this song in particular is like that like main riff and just like the dissonance of it and just like the sort of like jagged rhythmic motion of it is very, very, very spidery to me.
Fair enough.
And that's all I have to say about that.
All right, we're going to fucking quote Forrest Gump every time now, aren't
We have to. It's
old
like
men talk about
it's an
Forrest Gump.
OCD tick at this point.
We are having far too many fucking Tom Hanks repeated
We should get him on the
references
show.
here. Yeah, that seems like something we could do. Hey, Rick, what's your favorite song?
My favorite part is when the album.
Favorite song?
When the album makes noise, I like that part.
Okay.
So I'm actually gonna agree with Patrick. I really like "Good Morning, Captain."
Yeah, it hits like
It
really
does.
well as the last track, it's sort of
So it's not my favorite, and it doesn't have my favorite moment, and both of those are a lie because it's kind of both of those. But I figured other people would pick it, so I wanted to keep things interesting. But my note that I took for it,
I love it. The outro is fucking phenomenal.
yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, so
and if you listen really closely at the end of I listened to it on vinyl before we did this podcast, and it sounds like someone just turns the amp off while it's making feedback because it just sounds like the air gets sucked out of the tone.
Oh,
it's like
that's
this
super
weird,
cool.
like almost like, yeah, it's very interesting.
yeah, the
Like
note
that
I took,
dead
Abe,
battery unplugged thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
the note that I took was the ending is the end of the first post-rock album, which this is allegedly to a lot of people the first post-rock album, and it's also the best moment in post-rock.
Yep.
So there.
That was quick.
Yeah. See you guys later. So Jim, what's your favorite?
My favorite was Washer.
Ooh.
It kind of had this like creepy, like somber vibe to it. I actually kind of described it as like that guitar, the picking at the beginning there reminded me of like a somber, silent lucidity. Like Queen's Rock.
No, totally. No, I could see that.
And I really liked how the song built up towards the end there.
Yeah.
Hey, Abe, how about you?
My favorite song, Nosferatu Man. With Washer being a very close second. But Nosferatu Man was the first song that I heard when I was very first listening to it, walking through the perfume section at, I think, the JCPenney at the Square One Mall in Saugus, right after I bought it, like on a Discman.
I was gonna say timing-wise, that works out. Like I can visualize that happening very well.
So you literally walking from Newbury Comics down the
Open
hill
the CD.
into the JCPenney.
Put it into your CD
Yeah.
player while you are undoubtedly eating an airhead.
I'm literally watching you do this right now in my mind.
And I just hit that spot. Right, it was JCPenney on that side, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, because at first I expected it to be a lot more like aggro than it was. Like, I'd heard like Big Black and Rape Man and the Jesus Lizard and Scratch Acid.
Because all touch and go bands were really aggressive for
Yeah,
you
for the most
to that
part, yeah.
point.
And this was the first, like, Breadcrumb Trail has that, but it's not. It wasn't in your face, and it wasn't angular or like discordant. And Nosferatu Man, when that lead line kicks in, it like hit everything for me. It fit the title. It was, it just like sticks out so much. It's piercing. It like pierces your soul, like fucking vampire fangs, man. You're like,
I made a comment while we were listening to it. It's like, it's nice to see a bunch of whippersnappers using the 5/4 time signature there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tone of that like kind of shrill lead line is just like really pretty out of control.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah, one of the things I really like about that song too is it's a great example of a song that's tracked live because when you hear the lead come in, the other rhythm kicks out because there is no other rhythm. There's just two guitars playing the song. And whenever that happens, I just love how much the guitar tone cleans up. Like you just hear just that they're both a little dirty and together they're like pretty gross. But as soon as one drops out, like the other is just super clean. And I just love that kind of like live performance aspect of it.
I like that it's got the longest like volume like outro. Like like it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah, I said the fade out guitar is like a vampire, like fading, dusting off into the sun. You know, like
Dusting off
that's
into
like
the sun.
That's the end of Nosferatu Man, the movie, right?
Did you just watch 30 Days a Night, Abe? God. No, God. No, God.
I remember seeing that on an on-demand loop constantly. Like I would like be napping on the couch or something with on-demand, and there'd be like a 5-minute loop of the programming they had, and I would just kind of like doze and wake up periodically and hear, "No God." For me, you know what? You guys are taking the songs that I would pick, and I want to keep things interesting. And honestly, I fucking love this whole thing. So I'm going to go with Donna Man. Is I think kind of a weirdo pick. And
explain.
There's a lot that I really like about this song. I took a note during it that the gradual speed up throughout is what I like to call a kiss of the anus. So just picture a stereotypical Italian man who just made himself a nice big pizza pie and what he does with his hand right afterwards.
So Tom Hanks and Chris kissing the anus are constants in this podcast.
Oh yeah, and the. Oh, we'll get to it.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to it,
I'm sure.
The trifecta.
So there's that.
The trifecta of a good episode.
The end guitar coming in for 10 seconds, and that weird single Brian McMahon line that has reverb when the rest of it is Brit just kind of whispering. I don't know. It's a pretty good study in minimalism, and everything that's in it serves a purpose.
Yeah, it's a great song. I think it's the only Slint song I can play completely on guitar, from start to finish.
Trying to think if I can play any.
It's a great tune. I never knew until we saw them live in 2005. I didn't know Britt Walford played that song. I didn't know he played it by tapping the strings with his pointer finger either.
Same. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Same with Nosferatu Man. I didn't realize he was singing that too. All right, cool. So let's move ahead. Least favorite song, Patrick.
Donna Man.
Dawn woke up and looked at the night before. He knew what he had to do. He was responsible. In the mirror, he saw his friend.
Yeah, I mean, at my core, I'm a percussion guy. I like drums. This song doesn't have fucking drums in it. That's number one right off the bat. It kind of just has like this overall like feeling that it's the same feeling that like beat poetry gives me, where I don't really get it, but everyone like is saying that it's cool, so I'm just gonna go along with it. Like I don't know, but. Like I don't know, it's just like at points the dissonance just like it just sounds like it's. Do you guys know how notes work? I don't know. I don't want to be a dick.
It's so many beautiful major seventh chords.
Yeah, I mean they do a lot of great shit with dissonance on other points in the album. This one it sounds like kind of amateurish.
I felt like this song kind of dragged a little bit.
Yeah, probably because there were no drums, right, buddy?
Yeah,
that's...
I know. Well,
am I right? Because Britt Walford was too busy playing fucking guitar and singing.
Oh, wow. Was he really?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
I had a note about, like, this song kind of had a lot of spoken word going on, and it reminded me a lot of, going back to what I was saying earlier about how the first, like, album I, like, blindly listened to was Anima. Like, there's, like, the soft, whispery part in the song where he's talking, and it reminded me of the whispery part during Third Eye at the end of Anima. He's like, and the eyes look so familiar.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And that album came out 6 years after this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably loosely inspired in some way.
Rick, how about you?
No. This is like asking me to pick a favorite child.
Yeah, no, it's not song you don't like. It's least favorite.
Yeah. Again,
We'll use the analogy we used before.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to choose Washer.
Remember me as you fall to sleep, Fill your pockets with the dust of the memory that rises from the shoes on my feet.
Interesting.
I
And-
won't be back here.
Only because I had to choose one.
Okay.
I think it's a different tone than the rest of the record. Even though like you said, like Donna Man, like it does break it up because there is no percussion, and it definitely does like stick out for that reason. I think Washer is it's the most sing-songy of all the
it sure is,
and
yeah.
it kind of it at the time when I really got into the record, I just wanted really aggressive stuff all the time, and this was like the first beautiful record I'd really like got into, and I immediately like turned against the most beautiful song on the record because of that.
I also
So I
like
was
that
like,
this is an
no, I
example
don't like
of a beautiful record.
I don't like this. This is a beautiful record. This it's just
I
amazing.
agree. It's funny that like comparatively, this is like, oh yeah, this is the Celine Dion.
I had a friend who said that like Washer was like the saddest song he's ever heard, and like I wasn't really nuts about it the first time I heard
Yes.
it. So like I've like since gone back and listened to it, and like it doesn't really hit me in that same way, but I could totally see how someone could listen to that and
No, I mean,
cry
so-
themselves to sleep.
So I was going through kind of a shitty breakup when I got really into Washer, in like probably 2003, 2004, something like that. And Rick had sent me a couple songs from this album beforehand that I'd gotten into, and Washer was one of them. And I just sort of forgotten about them. And then I heard Washer on college radio randomly one day, recognized it immediately, and I was like, I feel this.
Yeah.
And like I went through like that
Yeah.
that dumb shit that you do when you're younger and you're going through a breakup. So like I don't know, it has some sentimental value to me for that reason, but yeah, I get what you guys are saying too.
Yeah, I said the same thing about it. I said it was like the perfect thing when I was like a teenager, young adult, like when I was feeling emotional and wanted to feel equally sad and angry. And that I also think a million emo bands were spawned with this song.
Yeah, for
Yes.
sure.
This
Like,
is
especially the distorted
Post-rock
part where
and
it's
E
just
minor.
like,
Yeah.
it's the most
builds and
emo
just,
thing on
like-
the record.
Yeah.
yeah.
Jimbo.
My least favorite was For Dinner. I just, I don't know, stupid. Stupid song.
Dumbest song on the record.
I don't know. It's just there was a point where I was like, "Is it the next song yet?" No, I don't know. It's just kind of it's the instrumental. There's really nothing going on. I'm just kind of.
You know, I will say, it was a hard for me to choose between those two because those
Yeah.
are the two I would have chose. But For Dinner, because it's an instrumental, there's like at the time when I was a kid, when I was really getting into it, it didn't have the sadness that I was like, no, I guess this one's kind of okay, even though it's instrumental and no one's singing. Like, so like.
I'm just
I'm
gonna
with
go
you
ahead,
on that one.
I'm just gonna go ahead and piggyback. Again, like Rick was saying, because I have to. For Dinner is gonna be my least favorite. as well.
You skipped Abe.
No, mine is. It's also my least favorite.
All right, thanks for the reminder, Jim. But yeah, apparently we don't need to worry about it because the
No.
three of us are in lockstep.
Abe sits
Yeah.
right here.
Okay, I'll turn the light
This
on
is-
so that
this
we
is
know
Abe.
that Abe is here.
The light.
I'll turn it off because Rick is
I am
wincing
the
in pain.
light.
For dinner, check please.
No, so Chris, why is
Apparently-
it?
I've been trying to crack that
Apparently,
for
we're
like the past
having
minute.
Denny's for dinner.
Oh God.
So Abe, why don't you go first?
So it's funny. What made me realize it was my least favorite song was when we saw them live on that first reunion tour. It was what they opened with, and I didn't recognize it.
Oh man, I love that they opened with it.
We're kind of forgetting how it goes.
How did you
now.
not
I loved
But-
that.
Hey,
Yeah,
I'm gonna hit
then
you
I
on principle
realized
next
what
time
it-
I see you now.
Then I realized what it was, and I loved it. I understood the song so much more. Something about seeing it live, the dynamics were even more apparent than they are in the recording.
Yeah.
So listening tonight, like I was like, it was hard to pick, but I just have such an emotional connection to Washer. Like For Dinner is the one that I have the least connection to musically or emotionally.
And that's exactly why I picked it. It's just the one I have the least connection to.
Yeah, but I really like it. Like it was a late bloomer for me to realize what they were doing with that song.
Fair enough. All right, MVP moment, Patrick.
All right, hold on. I think I have an MVP moment. Hold on, I'm going to open.
Can I just while he's doing that, can I comment? So the evolution of this album for me, like it happened. Well, at first it didn't happen really at all. Then it happened very quickly in the last 12 hours. So I had originally heard about Slint back in like 2009 or 2010 maybe. I was at a party and I just like was eavesdropping on a conversation, and some dude was like, "Yeah, man, I just found this band Slint. You gotta check it out." And then I wanted to be cool, so I immediately went home and downloaded it. And I was like, "All right. I mean, I guess this is cool. I don't know. I guess at that age, I just really didn't feel a connection with it."
I think when Abe showed this to me 1,000 years ago, in '96, my first reaction was like, "Man, I don't like this."
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. And then
So-
It's a
Yeah,
very
you didn't show it to me
guitar-heavy
until like
album,
2001.
I think.
I probably didn't fall in love with it until like the early 2000s,
And
so
then-
like 2000,
yeah.
2001.
And
That
then
adds
Christopher mentioned that we were going to do it for the podcast. I was like, "Oh yeah, like I remember this." I didn't really remember any of the music, and like we were driving over here from Boston earlier, and I was talking about how like I downloaded it and it ended up in my iPod, and when I'd put shuffle on, it would come on occasionally. But I never really like dove into it. And then today I was listening to it at the office, and I was like, okay, yeah, I remember some of this. This is cool, but it's still like, I don't know, I guess. And Christopher mentioned, he was like, this is one of those albums like you gotta listen to on vinyl. And I think listening to it in the living room on vinyl definitely kind of put it over that edge for me, where I was like, all right, I can get behind this.
There's a difference between the 180 and the original, like the last cheap pressing, the one that I have. Like,
Yeah,
sonically different.
That's the one that I have framed over there. Like,
Yeah.
that there's a huge difference.
So we listened to the 1080 gram tonight.
180, yeah.
180.
It's not a TV,
Is that
Patrick.
is the 180
1080p
the
vinyl?
reissue one?
Yeah, it is.
Is that interlaced or?
All right, guys, whatever. You went to school. So my
No, I didn't. I went to Full Sail.
close enough. So my MVP moment was actually in Good Morning Captain. When those distorted chords sort of fucking come in. I miss you. Just right there. Like they almost sound like DS1, just like fucking high school distorted guitars. That's like kind of what I love about it.
do we know?
It's a Smashing Pumpkins outtake. Doom, ding, ding, ding,
You're as much of a nerd as me, and I didn't do a bunch of like gear nerding out with this record. Do you know what they were using as stomp boxes on this?
I don't know what they were using as stomp boxes, but when we saw them live in 2005, and then when I saw them again in was it 2014, they were using like PV amps and shit. Like they're using the actual stuff that they were using when they were like 17 or 18.
The Randall that David Pajo used, he didn't like. That's like the Randall like P120. I don't know what the heck model it is, but it's like the weird Randall head from like the late 70s.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that was kind of the image that it creates in my head, where it's these are young guys just like making loud music, with their buddies. It just kind of like in my head, like I just had this image of like being 17 and fucking slamming on a DS1 and like
It's so cool
playing
seeing
shitty music with my friends.
It's so amazing seeing kids that young with gear that shitty just fucking nailing it.
Right.
Like it's weird seeing what that sounds like.
Yeah. These were like, this was like the best you could be of that.
Yeah.
Of that stock. Like
Exactly,
this is,
yeah.
this is as good as it got.
What do you guys think they were doing for work to buy that equipment?
I mean, they weren't using good equipment. That's the thing.
Well, I didn't
McDonald's.
say good equipment. I just said to buy that equipment, though.
I don't know. I think some of it maybe came from family money or something. I'm not-
So this is going to be
touch
tough.
on that in the documentary.
This is going to be tough to
yeah, I
describe
forget what it said.
in an audio sense. But when Jim was presenting that question, Rick was leaning back in his chair a little bit, and he leaned forward, side-eyeing Jim as he was asking the question, as if Jim was potentially threatening his family.
I honestly did not know that happened. I was not aware of that. I didn't mean to side eye you, man.
That's okay. I was at back when Circuit City was a thing. I was in Circuit City one time, and this kid from high school walked in, and I didn't like this particular person.
Oh,
And
was
I-
it Stefan?
No, it wasn't Stefan. And I guess apparently I was like glaring at this person from across the Circuit City because my friend Craig came up to me. He's like, "Dude, are you all right? You look like you want to kill that guy." And I was like, "Oh Jesus!" I didn't realize I was like visually like burning a hole in this person.
And now that Circuit City is a pop-up Halloween store.
So
Yeah.
that's just your default look.
Yeah.
I think they call it resting bitch face.
Rick, how's about you?
MVP moment.
MVP moment.
I'm actually going to say the intro to Good Morning Captain. So it was one of the first weird things that I found, like, you know, noodling around trying to learn these songs on guitar. It's actually played behind the fretted notes. So the intro, they're plucking behind the chord.
that's what that
And
is.
because the chord is the same backwards and forwards where it's placed on the neck, you can play it on either side and it's in tune.
Oh my god.
So that's why it sounds all dissonant and
All right,
weird and
yep.
hollow.
Not
and
to,
then
I
they
I think
start
Patrick
playing
just
it.
pre-came.
Yeah, I think you broke Patrick.
No, because
That sound is a great extended technique that they use on this record, you know? Besides
again,
like
like,
harmonics and some other stuff,
For
you
a
know?
fucking 16-year-old to be like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
going to do? I'm going to play behind the hand.
I thought I invented that because I did that on the fucking Smell album. I did that on the Cigar Box. I thought I invented that. Those bastards.
Yeah, and
That's really
That's
cool.
crazy. It was only 27 years later.
Yeah. Whatever.
You know, when I was a teenager, I had this weird, crazy concept about making a guitar with a pickup, but like right in front of the nut, just to make a weird noise guitar. And I'd never done it, and I'd never thought about it again until this moment. And now I'm going to do that.
TM. Rick owns the TM on that.
Yeah, TM. Don't do that. Only I can do that.
Mail it as a letter to yourself so you can have it postmarked right now.
Perfect.
Jim.
My favorite moment, I'm on the same boat train with Patrick. That when he's like, "I bet you," and it fucking slams in. Yeah, there it is. Slam, lam, a ding dong.
There is Jim Slam.
Fucking harmonics. They just, yes.
That you,
Punch you in the face with those harmonics.
that you didn't quite rip off, but almost did the harmonics on it was fucking cool.
That was a blatant fucking ripoff.
It was.
It's an homage.
That whole fucking song was a Slint ripoff. It was
I mean,
like
it was a Slint
like I
ripoff,
took
but-
Slint and Mogwai and went, "It's my song." I can count to numbers.
It was definitely mathier than either band. So actually, apparently, when Brian McMahon did that vocal part, after he finished and got the take, he promptly threw up
Yeah.
from doing the vocal take.
Oh, really?
badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Abe, how about you?
MVP moment. It was a hard choice. I had two. I'm not sure which one to say.
All right. Well, if you had 2 children, and they were hanging off a cliff. And you needed to let one go to let the other one live. Which one are you going to drop?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with.
So matter of fact. Yeah, I know. No, I'm.
This man is a father too. Come on.
Yeah, I'm gonna say.
So he
only
definitely
because-
understands.
I only have one kid, so it's kind of hard to now.
I'm going to save the one.
Yeah,
All right, between the kids and the
since
cat.
I already mentioned Nosferatu Man, I'll leave the one out from that.
Sounds good.
You monster.
Uh-oh, did we lose him?
Amazing. That drum beat is so good. Like it's.
You got to stop, Abe. You dropped out entirely here. There was just like 10 seconds of silence, and then amazing. That drum part. So that's what we heard over here. Do you mind repeating?
So, did you catch the part where I said I'm not going to pick the part in Nosferatu Man?
Yes.
And I
Yeah,
called you
okay.
a monster.
Yeah. So the best part, Britt Walford's drum beat in Good Morning Captain.
I'm the only one left. The storm took them all. He managed as he tried to stand.
Oh, yeah.
Tears.
It's amazing.
I keep thinking you guys are going to say Good Morning America.
Close enough.
Oh, because
Morning
the,
I will from now on, okay?
do you mean because of the television show?
Because of the comma.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
What about Good Morning Vietnam?
A lighthearted
yeah, no.
romp about the Vietnam War.
The drum beat is just so phenomenal. It's with the open hi-hats. It's like funky without really being a funk song. It's got those cool bell hits. It's got the tom rolls. I said something
it
else
has this
about
like
it.
very kind of like jaggedy, like but like still
Play
like
that
moving
funky
forward.
music, Slin, boy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it has
Yeah.
this definite sort of bounce to it. This like very creepy little like descending bounce to it.
I think in general, Britt
I
Walford's
also
drum work
said,
is.
I'm going to quote what I wrote as a note. Placing something as musically astute as Walford's drum fill / roll into the second verse is my sole drumming aspiration. Plus the tom roll that he does into the distorted B section, the second one. It's like it's so quiet, so dynamic. Like after the whole drum beat, it's like it's so well placed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's very orchestral in his playing. He writes very like overarching drum parts.
Rick, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say, just in general, his playing on the record is stellar. It's unbelievable.
I fucking love his playing.
Yeah,
It's insane.
that was a standout for me. Like upon like early listens, I was like the fucking drumming
He's
is
probably
amazing.
my favorite member of the band, I think.
Yeah, I'd probably
Yeah,
give
drums
that as well.
rule.
Is Britt Walford
The drummer.
the mouth breather?
Yes, he is the mouth breather.
Yes,
Okay.
he is. Yep. I
He's a
completely
nice
forgot
guy.
about
I like
that
him
until you just
fine,
mentioned that.
but he's a
yeah.
mouth
Oh,
breather.
is he the Jesus Lizard song was named after?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. So for mine, I'm going to go with the intro until the vocals come in of Nosferatu Man.
I live in a castle.
From that little side hit on the snare intro through that lead guitar riff, that bit is just creepy as fuck. One time I was hanging out with Ben Hedden, the former bass player from the band Rick and I were in with, and he lived in this place in Salem, this creepy old little apartment, like up on a top floor, and he had this tiny little bedroom that was like just big enough for his bed and a record player.
It was like Harry Potter's closet.
Yeah, it very much was. And he kind of looked like Harry Potter, which like just aided the fantasy. And basically, like one time I went to like drink a 40 with him in his apartment, and we just sat on his bed, there being enough legroom for my knees to hit the wall. He sat closer to the other end and put Spiderland on, but skipped Breadcrumb Trail and just went straight for Nosferatu Man. And as I was sitting there drinking my 40, I was like, yeah, this is right.
Just lit up a cigarette.
Yeah.
And
Speaking of like the, you mentioned the snare. I think the snare throughout this whole album just sounded really great.
It
Yeah.
did, yeah.
It was a great snare.
it snaps.
Yeah.
I think in
Slams.
general,
Slams.
like knowing that this is not Steve Albini, like it's a very Albini sounding record.
That's why I thought, because
more so than their first record.
Yeah, no, I thought so too,
Yeah, agreed.
because when I was perusing the Wikipedia, I saw Steve Albini, and I was like, oh, he did this record. Yeah, I can totally hear like Steve Albini
Yeah,
on
they're
this record.
very natural sounding
And then
drums.
he had nothing to do with this record.
Yeah.
That's actually what I noticed strongly about the record in general is it's silent. It's so clear.
There's
like
so much room.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's like very, very simple, but like just very well placed production.
When I was telling Jim that you have to listen to it on vinyl, part of that is for the crackle. Like when you're listening to Donna Man, like if you hear the crackle of the vinyl, like it just adds so much to that song.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's move right along here. Comparable album, Patrick.
All right, so this one's a bit of a left field. We're going to tie this back around to what we were talking about earlier about this sort of being a, like, on the vanguard of post-rock or the post-rock genre in general. And oddly enough, another album came out this year, 1991, by the band Talk Talk, called Laughing Stock, that is also has been considered to be, like, on the vanguard of post-rock, but, like, a completely different sounding record sonically and entirely, but like both sort of share these like very extended drony guitars, like very clean guitar drones into like more noisy sections, and also in the fact that they're just such like big departures from their predecessors. Yeah, there we go.
Cool. Rick, how about you?
Oh, so this album has kind of come in and out of my life in different points, so it's weird for me to compare things. So I'm gonna go with the sonic comparison.
Sure.
And the closest thing that I have ever been able to kind of compare it to, which is still like, I mean, nothing, but Adavin's German Water, which was one that I was kind of listening to probably a few years later than when I like really got into this. So we're talking like 03, 04 maybe.
Sure, yeah.
And it's an instrumental, like post-rock, math rock kind of band. I don't know.
Adavin.
Yeah. And I don't think they have a bass player. I think it's just two guitars and drums, like any good math rock or post rock band should be. But
yeah, those bassists can't do math.
Yeah, honestly I can't. And even like, it's an ill comparison because nothing sounds like this record. But
Except
I don't
for
know.
the
It's
shit
one that I always kind of like when I heard that band. Actually, it was Ben Hedden, who you were just speaking about, is the one that showed me Adavin, specifically that record, and I kind of fell in love with it. And it was right after I had my love affair with Spiderland for the first time, so I was like, yeah, this kind of sounds like that. I'm gonna listen to this. He also showed me Ass Suck at the same time, which was pretty
You
great.
say Ass Suck?
Yeah, have you never heard Ass Suck?
No.
You ask with a straight face. This
You
is
should
what,
check out Ass Suck sometime.
You ask,
this is
with
what
a-
Rick does. Rick will say like an absurd band name like that, and he'll be like, "You haven't heard fill in the blank. You haven't heard grape fuck."
It's just like,
I haven't heard Great
like that
Fuck yet
episode-
either, Chris.
it's like the episode of The Simpsons with Grimy. And he's
man.
looking at the picture. He invites Grimy over for dinner, and he's looking at all the pictures, and it's like the picture of Homer in space. And he's like, "You've been to space?" And Homer's like, "You haven't?"
Jim, what about you?
I'm gonna go with an album that I've actually used before. When we did Emergency and I'm gonna go with Shiner's The Egg, 2001 DeSoto Records.
I can totally see that.
Yeah, you familiar with that record?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with Shiner.
Okay.
But yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. I get it. I get that.
I've shown Christopher this album. I think Patrick, you would dig that album a lot. And actually, I should pick it up on vinyl, and we should do it for an episode.
Word.
Cool, Abe.
When you first mentioned this was something to think of, I immediately thought of a record which was also out of left field. GeoGaddy by Boards of Canada.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, something about like my favorite song on that record is Sunshine Recorder. And it has the same like creepy kind of odd time skipping around feeling to it. And the whole record is very dark.
Yeah,
and
that
it's called
is the Dark
Spiderland.
Geogaddy.
I've never listened to that one.
And it's a second record.
It's
You know,
the second?
It's kind of a departure from their first record.
I think. Fuck, I lost my train of
Music
thought.
has the right to children was their first one, right?
Yeah.
I've got that one, and I've got Campfire Head Phase on vinyl, so I'm going to pick one of those at some point. So.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. Campfire.
Yeah,
Head
Campfire
Phase.
Head Phase is good. Lots of guitar.
Yeah,
which is very
I
cool.
was big into that one for like a summer.
Yeah.
My name is Rick, and I'd like to admit that I've never listened to Boards of Canada.
It's a great, like, I don't want to be on this planet right now thing to listen to.
I've heard them.
They're enjoyable.
I've never listened to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, it's instrumental, so it's like, yeah, if you don't want to fucking deal with
Like
humans for a bit.
when I was commuting from Needham to Attleboro every day, I would throw that on just to kind of zone out from the traffic jam I was sitting in.
Yeah, it's excellent driving music. I would put it on when I was driving Uber like all the time, and people would be like, "What the fuck is this?"
What's this fresh new sound you're listening to, Uber driver?
Oh, this is my band, Boards of Canada. I told this one guy I was listening to Moon Safari by Air, and I told him it was by demo tape. he was this guy, this like Italian guy. He was like, "Oh, this is very good." Like, yeah.
It's very, very good.
It's very nice.
I was going to ask Patrick to repeat his culturally sensitive imitation, but I mean, Jim just one-upped it, so there's no need.
I have no shame.
All right, so for my comparable album, I'm going to go with another one out of left field. Sounds nothing like it. I'm going to go with Interpol's Antics, because that came out around the same time I started fucking obsessing over this album hard, and I was obsessing over that album hard, too, at the same time.
Jeez, you were just really hard, huh?
Yeah.
02?
04.
04.
Curiosa Festival.
Curiosa Festival.
Curiosa Festival.
Yeah, yeah. we
yeah,
were there.
Antics was 04. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
That's around the time. I downloaded it when it came out, and I never fucking listened to it. Should I?
That's when I was trying to get you into Mogwai at the same time too.
Yeah, no, I got into Mogwai around the same time, because we
Yeah.
were listening to fucking My Father, My King, like all the
Also
goddamn
recorded
time.
by Albini.
Also recorded by Albini.
My Father, My King was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think I knew that.
Yeah. All right, so we are up to the home stretch. Jim, before we do ratings, can you please just tell me the story about Orlando?
Oh my god, it wasn't that good, but I'll tell it anyway.
All right, you don't have to if
No,
it's going to be
I
a
want
letdown.
to. You fucking just fucking.
I'm
all-
sure we can work with it.
So, I've got two stories.
We need a title for this
I
episode.
moved down to Orlando to go to Full Sail, and for the first two, I'm gonna drag this on. For the first 2 weeks, I didn't have any friends, and I didn't know how to meet friends. So I sat in my apartment for 2 weeks straight and watched SVU.
This is in Orlando.
This is in Orlando,
This is a story you have already told tonight, but continue.
and then
And what year was
not
it?
on the air though.
What year was this?
This is 2005.
Okay.
2005. And then I ended up meeting my friend Chris, and I was like, "Hey, let's go down to downtown Orlando." And within 15 minutes, somebody tried to sell me crack. Fast forward like a few months later, we kind of solidified our little group of friends, and one of my other friends, we go downtown, and he was the only one old enough to drink, and he drove. So he ends up getting pretty drunk, and I was like, "All right, I'll drive the truck home." So me not being too familiar with downtown Orlando, their I-4 runs right through the middle of it. Now, on one side of I-4 is like the clubs and the businesses and everything, and it's shitty, but it's at least you can walk around and not die.
It's like the Orlando that Will Smith sang about.
Right, exactly. But that was Miami.
I was hoping no one would catch it, when everyone would just blindly accept, but
Welcome to Tallahassee.
I thought that it was wrong, but I was just gonna let it slide.
that's what I was hoping everyone
They're
would
the
do.
same city, right?
Friendship.
No, I think there's probably more murder in Miami.
If that documentary Dexter is to be believed, yes,
Yes,
there is more
exactly.
murder in Miami.
Bay Harbor Butcher.
they can just like release more of that stuff to the press. Apparently, under the Sunshine State law, right?
Anyways, so the other side of I-4 is the ghetto. And I'm driving my friend's truck, and I take a wrong turn, and I end up on this one-way street, and I kind of slow down because I'm looking down this one-way street, and all I can see is a gang of people on one side of the road and a gang of people on the other side of the road, and they are just yelling and swearing at each other and hurling bricks and rocks and whatever else they can find.
I should not be here.
Just generally a situation that doesn't involve you at this point in time.
Correct.
This sounds exactly like Philadelphia when we visited for Abe's wedding.
That's why. That's how this all came up. This is all your fault, Abe.
I apologize.
God damn you for getting married. And I was like, I don't know what to do here because I'm too far down the one way to like back up. So I was like, all right, guys, let's lock the doors and we're going to go for it. And I just fucking floored it down this road. And I wish at this time like we had camera phones because I wish I could have recorded. And the craziest fucking part is at the end of the one way there was just a cop sitting there just watching this whole thing go down.
Yeah, they're practicing for a musical.
Yeah. They're practicing for a flash mob.
Rick, were you there when we drove by Revere Beach at night with Fabrizio? And it was one of the nights.
Maybe once.
It was one of the nights where yelling stuff at people, or he was yelling stuff at people.
There were many. So
And yeah, we didn't go down Revere Beach every night, but there was one night in particular where we went down there and we drove by what was very clearly a gang, like a gang of people who were in a gang.
And he yelled at them.
And he yelled.
Oh God!
He yelled at them.
Jesus.
Oh,
You guys remind me of Top Gun.
I was not there for that, but I have heard this story.
That was terrifying.
I was in Pawtucket one time, and we went to a liquor store.
Every good story.
Pawtucket
I was in Pawtucket one time.
Yeah, and there
At
was
a liquor store.
There was a 3-floor apartment next to the liquor store, and at the time it was me and my friend Tom, who was on the podcast the last episode, and our girlfriends at the time, and we went to get in the car, and these folk from Pawtucket up on the 3rd floor out in the porch yelled down to us, "Hey, nice whores." And I went, "Fuck you." And they basically threatened to kill us. So I got in the car and got out of there as fast as possible.
They threatened to kill you for not like accepting their insult. Like, hey, I didn't like that you said that. Well, how dare you not like that?
Yeah.
Like that's
Pawtucket is where I bought my first weed pipe.
Me too.
All right, let's rate this. Things are getting off the rails pretty quick. Patrick.
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10.
Rick.
Okay.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I don't know. I recognize that it's an important album, obviously, to a lot of you guys, and obviously it's influenced a lot of bands that I actually really do like. And yeah, I think it is like pretty cool in a lot of points, just not 100% my cup of tea.
I've already unfriended you on Facebook.
Rick.
10 fucking stars.
Oh my God.
Do you need to elaborate or?
No.
Jim?
I'm gonna go. Don't yell at me. I'm gonna go with a 6.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go with a 6 because this album. It's taken. I'm sure it'll grow on me more. It's taken me a long time for it to really like.
It's very sparse.
Yeah.
And, like, that was kind of my problem
For
with
where
it
you
going
are,
into
I think that's a solid rating.
Yeah. No. I think my biggest thing in this is there's a little too much spoken word on this for me.
Gotcha.
For my taste.
To be honest, like
Yeah.
this is kind of new for you, and it is newer for you, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I would have given it 10 fucking stars the first time I heard it. So
Yeah, same. Hey, Abe, how about you?
10 out of 10 for sure. Life-changing for me. I mean, at the time I heard it, I was 16.
Now, at what
I
point?
think that's the appropriate time to hear it.
How much-
Not when you're 33.
How much dumpster diving was happening during the Slint era for you?
Oh, none. Other than the
So
Walgreens
this is life changing
dumpster where I worked.
in the
That's
fact
not
that
true.
you heard this album and you're like, I'm gonna start fucking dumpster diving.
we
This is
used
a
to
life
dumpster dive
changing.
guitar
I'm going to
center
become a
back
spider
then.
and my land is the dumpster.
There's the title. You wanted
I call
one?
it slinting.
Slinting.
We were dumpster diving Guitar Center for drumheads back then, Abe.
What was that?
We were dumpster diving Guitar Center for drumheads and weird shit back then.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
It didn't start that early.
But yeah, no, 10 out of 10. It's one of the only albums I have a tattoo of. I have 3 album tattoos.
Oh,
it's
shit.
one of,
Wait, can we
and I
guess
think
them? Can we play a guessing game? All right, so one of them's Slint.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't try.
Yeah.
His tastes are obscure enough where you're not going to get them all.
Abe's got some of the weirdest fucking tattoos I've ever seen.
Is there a dumpster tattoo?
Starlight Vocal Band.
No, Abe's best tattoo is he's got the Ghostbusters logo where it go like where the patch goes on the uniform.
Oh, nice.
It's perfect. It's great. It's your best tattoo, Abe.
thank you.
And I would award this 10 fucking stars. It's one of my top 5 favorite albums. My favorite album, depending on when you ask me. So yeah, this is a fucking perfect album.
Hey, it's a cool record.
I guess.
All right, so we have all had our say here. Let's go down the list with the outsiders. Rick, you got any shows or anything coming up that you want to plug?
Oh, I have a whole bunch of shows coming up. I don't keep track of them because I'm the horrible one in the band. But my band, Knockover City, did just release an album on April Fool's Day. It's called It's Bad, Dude. Yeah, we put a bunch of work into it and self-recorded it and got it mastered, and it came out really good, and we're all really proud of it. And you should go to our Bandcamp page and buy a copy of it, please, so we can make a next record.
Sweet.
There you have it. Abe, how about you?
The only thing I've got going on is Sun Hat's got a show May 3rd at Kung Fu Necktie here in Philly. Other than that, nothing else really going on.
Come to Boston.
Yeah, play Boston.
Please.
Open for Smell.
Yeah, I'd like to come in the summer. I don't know if we can make it happen. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll take it offline.
All right, Patrick.
I don't know. I don't really. Oh wait, I'm playing a show on Friday.
To be fair, by the time this airs, the show will already have happened.
All right, yeah. So I think we don't have to. I've been plugging it the past couple of weeks. We don't have to talk about it. I'm
Yeah.
really tired. My boy Gunter woke me up at 5:30 this morning. By my boy, I mean my cat. He's looking for huggies and uppies.
Jim, you got anything?
Huggies and uppies. I was going to plug the show, and I was just going to make a joke about how I've been second-guessing myself about Bella Sama for the last 48 hours.
Yeah, we all kind of are. We'll figure it out.
I'm like, wait a minute. Am I supposed to transition at this part? So it's going to be really interesting on this Friday that's
it's
already
4-4.
happened by the time that...
It's 4-4 all the way through.
All right, I'll try to remember that. I don't...
Yeah.
Hopefully your wife doesn't stab me.
Hopefully not.
And I'm going to plug... I actually came out of retirement a little bit, and I've been recording a band that I used to record. I generally do an album for them every, 3 years. Cactus Attack.
Oh, nice.
So, we tracked all the drums and bass over the weekend. Well, I don't know what weekend it'll be by the time this airs, but by the time this airs, I'll probably have most of it tracked, and I'll be working on mixing. But
I might be dead by the
I
time
might
this
be.
airs.
Who the fuck knows?
Anything is possible.
This might be the last thing that anybody hears.
Oh man, your
Yeah,
poor
so check
family.
that out.
Yeah, I heard Jim's last spoken thing. He was really mean to that guy, Abe.
No, I told Abe at the beginning of this that I'm a fan of his dumpster diving.
It was a 12-minute diatribe about Joey Jordison.
Yeah, no, that's all I got.
All right, cool. Yeah, and I don't have shit. So, all right. So, Abe, Rick, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
you.
great to be here.
I didn't mean to talk over you, Abe. Yeah, thank you. It
this was a lot of
super
fun.
talking about the greatest album ever.
Yeah, pretty good album, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay.
Oh, did we have an aggregate score?
Aggregate score was 8.3.
Wow, that's pretty good,
That's pretty good.
I guess.
Sorry, 8.6.
Oh wow.
Yeah, 3 10s really brought that up.
Yeah, I guess so.
I think that's our first batch of 10s.
That's definitely our first batch of 10s, at the very least. All right, cool. So yeah, on behalf of the rest of us, thank you for listening to Old Men Yell at Cloud. I am Christopher.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Jim.
And thank you for listening.
I'll see you in hell.